Hey everybody, welcome to the Herd Fit Podcast with Dr. Sam Rhee and myself, Coach David Syvertsen. This podcast is aimed at helping anyone and everyone looking to enhance their healthy lifestyle through fitness, nutrition, and most importantly, mindset. Welcome back to the Herd Fit Podcast. I am Coach David Syvertsen. I'm here with Dr. and Coach Sam Rhee. We have an interesting topic today, one that I do think most CrossFitters struggle with at some point, some more than others. Some are better at dealing with it than others. But I do think there's either a conscious or subconscious aura or feeling of pressure when you work out. The feeling of external and or internal pressure to perform. And the CrossFit methodology does, no matter who you are, revolve around performance to a point. Yes, it is a health and fitness program for most. All right. But there still is this angle of pursuing weights, pursuing times, pursuing intensity, pursuing PRs, repeating workouts. If you do the open, even as a novice, just for fun, I want to be part of my gym community. There still is a performance factor. You get a number put on a whiteboard. At CrossFit Bison, we have written down the scores of everyone that has walked through the door in 99.9% of the workouts that we've done at Bison. All right. I think there was this one phase during our outdoor parking lots where we didn't write down RX and scale. Don't want to get into that. Maybe that'll be a topic for another time. But it is performance centered in that whatever you do at the gym, it gets written on the board for the world to see, your gym. And we post it on Facebook in our private members group so that we can go back and look at old scores. And so no matter what you are, no matter who you are, there is an element of I'm trying to perform to a certain caliber for today. And it could be good, it could be bad, it could be fast, it could be slow, but there's still performance. And with that comes pressure. And I kind of want to go into the different forms of pressure, right? Athletes feel it, coaches feel it, we feel it from ourselves, we feel it from external sources. Why do we feel it that way? And how do we cope with it? And just going to give some anecdotal situations. Sam probably has some more a different background on it, maybe some research type stuff if we can fit it in. But Sam, any opening thoughts on the simple topic of pressure to perform?
This is a relevant topic for everyone because personally, I feel pressure of some sort every day when I come into the gym.
Yep.
And sometimes I can harness it and make it good. And sometimes it negatively impacts me. But I remember the first day I went into a CrossFit box. Did I feel pressure? I felt a lot of pressure. I felt pressure about, could I jump onto the box that they're asking me to jump onto?
Yeah.
I've never actually done anything athletic. Could I even do the things that they're asking me to do? So it's not a performance even for some of us who have done this for a long time. It is what we write down on the whiteboard. It's how we compare ourselves to others. It's how we interact with our coaches or other athletes, as you're going to talk about. But it can even be something as simple as, can I even do the workout today?
Absolutely. I mean, I do beginners still. So when someone comes and joins our gym from the outside, does not have any CrossFit experience, myself, Chris, and Liz, we all do it. And we try to teach CrossFit in an hour, 2 different times. And all of a sudden they're thrown into the wolves, right? And you can tell that when you teach someone, a beginner, even someone that comes in with a high level of fitness, like having them go upside down and have to hold a handstand with their weight against the wall, or trying to learn how to kip or just do a pull-up or do a clean for the first time, there's that pressure to feel like, I don't know if I can do this, right? I'm trying to show this coach that I can do this, and then I'm trying to show to myself I can do it. I don't want to get hurt, all this stuff. There's a lot of voices inside your head that do either one of two things. They impede your ability to actually perform, right? Because one of the sport principles when you teach a kid how to play sports is hesitation leads to injury. Hesitation leads to lack of performance. But when you don't know what you're doing, you're going to hesitate, right? I always tell people at beginner sessions, try not to think your way through your snatch or your push jerk. Just move and we'll correct the movement. But that's so much easier said than done, right? Yes, if someone teaches you a push jerk for the first time and they're telling you to get underneath the barbell, you don't really know what that means, especially when you have a PVC in your head. So there's that hesitation. And I think part of that stems from the feeling of pressure, right? You don't want to screw up. You don't want to mess up. You don't want to get hurt.
Ultimately, the other thing why this is such an important topic, I'm so glad you chose it, is because pressure ultimately leads to growth.
Yeah.
And that applies to CrossFit and it applies to real life.
Yeah.
And the fact is that we deal with pressure everywhere. And if you don't know how to channel it, how to address it, how to use it, then you're not going to progress in life as far as you might want to. And that's why dealing with pressure in a really positive and good way is important for all of us.
Yeah. I mean, some of you guys that listen to this, it's the Herd Fit podcast, and you really, are all in on CrossFit and you want CrossFit to impact your life outside the gym, there are lessons you can learn from this discussion on pressure to perform in workouts to your outside life, whether your job, your family life, socially. All right. So the first thing we're going to do here is just talk about what kinds of pressure do we experience in the gym, both what have we experienced and also, more importantly, what I've heard others experience, right? And the amount of people that we talk to and coach, especially right now, but over also the past 10 years, you see a lot of common ground. There are a lot of common issues. Like I talked about this in previous podcasts with Chris Tafaro. It's like, we've been doing this so long, you see so many different kinds of people and so many different situations happen over the 10 years. They repeat themselves. History repeats itself. And this the most common pressure that I think people experience is the pressure from athlete to athlete. And this gets into the competitive sense a little bit. I don't want to go down that path too much, but it is part of this situation. It's part of this conversation. Athletes feel pressure from other athletes, subconsciously or consciously. And basically what happens a lot is if you are in a box for a long time, a year, 2 years, 3 years, you start to feel, all right, I'm usually around this person, right? Like Sam just worked out with Scott Sweeney at the 815 class. They do have a lot of the same scores day to day if you really broke it down. And again, you're not going to pay attention to that unless you're one of them too, or you're a coach. They are very comparable, but how they get there to those numbers is very different. So if Sam ever comes in or Scott ever comes in, and not that they are like this, but there are people that are like this, is that they'll see a score on the board and they immediately, before they even begin the warm-up, they feel pressure to perform to a certain level.
Absolutely.
Because someone in the gym that they feel they're comparable to put this number up. Let's just talk about that kind of pressure. And again, we don't want to put a negative label on pressure. It is not negative. It can be, but could also be positive. It can inspire you to work harder than you want it to work, right? So, Sam, discuss that little subconscious pressure that athletes feel from other pressures based on their performances.
I used to feel that a lot more than I do now, but I still feel that with certain athletes that I look at their numbers every day.
Like Fred, because Fred beat you the other day again.
I'm not going to say anything because it's a little raw right now.
Just took the Band-Aid off.
I'm really trying to be super mature about it. So all I will say is that Fred is a really good athlete and he's progressing really fast.
And that was a wheelhouse workout for him.
So let's just look at Scott because I just worked out with him.
Yep.
So every day I might look at his number and I might think to myself a couple different things. If he absolutely crushes a workout, and I know I can't even get close to it, there's less pressure.
Right.
But I'm also a little pissed, like, wow, and now that's where some people will fall into that trap of saying, well, his form isn't so good. Or, you know what, he cheated his reps.
He was probably near the door of running work.
And exactly. And I will tell you, the reason why I look at Scott a lot is because his technique is great.
It is.
And he never cheats on anything.
Yep.
So he is someone that I can use as a benchmark and be like, nah, those are not reasons why he crushed it. He crushed it because he's really good at it.
Right.
Sometimes I use it as pressure to do better for myself. Sometimes it's negative and I'm like, oh man, and I don't even try as hard. So there are a lot of different ways I use that pressure, but I do hear it. I see it sometimes. In that inner voice talks to me about it.
And you know what could almost throw you a curveball in a situation like that? This actually happened in the CrossFit Open. We're going to stay on Scott for a little bit. 21.1. That was the wall walk double under ladder. The first, we were wearing masks. If everyone remembers that here, where the reps went up on wall walks and double unders to a very high amount, respectively, for both movement as you were getting more fatigued. And Scott annihilated the workout. And I want to say he was one of the best 10 scores in the gym. And then we didn't know this until that time, but Scott's really good at wall walks, high volume wall walks, and we never did them in workouts like that prior to that workout. And this is the trap of, coming in and Sam always looking for a number from Scott, because if you don't know what Scott's really good at, and we as a gym didn't even know, it could throw you down this path of saying, oh my God, I did so poorly in this workout because I wasn't even near Scott in this one, and I'm always near Scott. But the CrossFit methodology, the programming behind CrossFit is, at some point, every athlete is going to have something that they're just naturally good at. It could be the anatomy, it could be their background, it could be their training age, and then they're also, on the flip side, going to have movements that they're not good at. Again, it could be anatomy, training background, psychological issues, right? And I think that's where if you come in and you're only looking at a number without the context of what's actually behind the number, it can put pressure on you to a point that's not realistic, right? Like if you were someone and you're decent at double unders and decent at wall walks, but what if you weren't? What if there are some good athletes in our gym that are they're not there with the wall walks yet, right? They're very good CrossFitters, but that's like a weakness. If that was them and they went and they saw this score on the board, they put this expectation on themselves to beat a number or be near a number simply because that, macro level Scott is like we're normally near each other. That's where the athlete putting pressure on themselves to pursue another person's score without proper context can really be an issue.
The other thing is what helped me was getting to know Scott a little bit better. He's a firefighter captain. Mm-hmm. He has a 14-month-old, a 3-year-old, and a 12-year-old.
Yep.
And this guy comes in every day.
All different times, too.
And he sometimes comes in at 6, sometimes
Yep.
he comes in the afternoon,
Yep.
whenever he can fit it in.
Yep.
And he never brags or is flexing about his score or any of it.
Yep.
And that's why I like choosing him as someone to just look at, because if he can do that under those circumstances,
Right.
I really don't have any excuse. So whether he kills it or he doesn't kill it, I know Scott more as a person, and that helps me put my own self into context.
Right.
And also maybe I was really busy and I didn't get a whole lot of sleep or something.
Right.
I'm not going to kill myself over it too.
Right.
So it helps me to look at my inner voice when I look at a number and, like you said, put it into context.
Right. And I really think that's where you can make the positive out of it. Like Sam is also now coming in saying, all right, let's screw the whole beat the time, right? And say you can actually use this pressure and filter it in a positive manner that, if Scott is pulling all this off with his crazy schedule and just a tough time in life with all those, with the young kids and trying to balance work life, right? It puts that pressure into context and the relation that it's actually going to add fuel to your workout. It's going to motivate you. It's going to inspire you. And I think that's where the athlete-to-athlete inspiration and pressure can actually help people. I know that there's athletes in this gym that are much better runners than myself. They're much better lifters than myself. And when I see them, put up a time, and this is where the advantage, if you work out later in the day, you just have more and more, avenues to really give yourself to, all right, I'm going to shoot after this time today. I'm never going to run like Owen. I'm never going to lift like Bogue, right? But I know that if I am somewhat near them in those respective forms of workouts, right, it actually pushes me to go beyond what my initial goal was. And even though so that's where the pressure of I love to chase after people can actually make me a fitter person and get me closer to my end goal. And I think if you can filter, I'm thinking about someone like Amy Edelman, who just pulled off one of the most impressive, probably 5 performances I've ever witnessed live in a workout. She did the Legends qualifier that Bison's doing on Tuesday. And this is why I'm bringing this up. The workout is 25 step-ups with a dumbbell, 100 double unders, 50 wall balls, 3 rounds. So very non-complementary workout. Your legs are essentially doing the same thing, like knees over toes, quad activation, squatting, jumping, the entire workout. You're pushing the ground with your legs, right? And the best times that I've heard from a lot of good athletes has been in the 14s, 15s. She was 12:10. And now our gym's going to do this on Tuesday. No one's touching that. If anyone wants to take that as a challenge, I would love to watch you because now it'll be another impressive performance I get to watch. But no one's going to touch that. But it's not important. That's not the important. The important part is it's actually going to inspire someone to maybe push further. Like, hey, can I get within 3 minutes of that time? Because I really think the line in our gym on set was going to be around 15, 16. Could anyone get into that tier? Now the line's pushed even further. And I think those people that were going to aim for 15, 16, they're going to aim for 13, 14 to say all right, could I actually get that much closer? And that's where I'm going to hope to do the workout on Tuesday. If I can do it schedule-wise, I'm going to feel pressure because of Amy. Even though I'm not touching that score, it's going to make me feel almost inspired and motivated to hey, I'm going to try to pursue something near that as well.
Susan and I were talking about that workout after we watched it. We stuck around. And Susan said, that is the first time I ever saw Dave mouth open, speechless after a workout ever. Yeah. And I said, you're right. I've never seen him speechless after a performance. And I think the reason why you felt that way, because you've seen athletes at other comps and stuff do insanely well.
Right.
It's because we frame performance according to us.
Right.
Right. So we think Someone who's better than us is really good.
Right.
Someone who's not as good as us is not that good. And that's
Right.
how we look at the whiteboard, right?
Yep.
Better than me, not as good as me, about the same as me.
Yep.
And we go all the way through everything.
Yep.
And she isn't someone who has historically crushed every workout. I mean, she's great.
Yeah.
But you frame her as an athlete who probably is comparable to you in terms of performance.
Big picture.
But she was able to crush this one.
Yes.
And so that reframed it for you
Right.
like, wait, if Amy Edelman
Yeah.
could do this, what is it that's preventing me from doing that?
Yeah.
And
Being good at squatting.
right, having more natural athletic talent. But that being said, that's why it was so impactful for you.
It was.
Because you could see someone like Tia Claire Toomey do it and be like,
whatever.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But when someone you know who they are and they do something like that, that's why that put pressure on you and made it inspirational. And I see that also sometimes when you were working out with, say, Dallas or someone else, like that really impacted you and put pressure on you. But your personality is such that you like that pressure.
Yes, feed off that.
You thrive off of it.
Absolutely.
And why is that? Because your personality is a little different than I would say. I mean, it's more of a competitive athlete kind of personality.
No, but I apply that to work life as well. Like there's a lot of things that we've done with the gym, like, take away competing in sport, that I've always said that. Like I think everyone would say this about themselves, but I am different in this sense. I'm probably a little weird in that sense too. But, I love like an underdog role. That's part of it. Like I feed off that. So if I go into something, all right, like whether it's myself, we'll talk about pressure you put on yourself later, but the pressure that might be from other athletes, like Amy and I are not competing against each other at all.
I know.
But let's act like we are. Now it's like, oh, really? You got that? Okay, I'm going to get 1209 now. And like I like that feeling, even though I know I can't. Like I don't think it's physically possible for me to do that. I like that feeling of no one thinks you can do it. Let's see if you can do it. And I fed off that, and I think that's just like very into sports. Obviously, I love underdog stories, and it's probably because I've been involved in competing for so long. And if you can ask my little league coaches, high school coaches, I was never the most talented ever, but I still always wanted to be at the top. Right? I always still wanted to win anything I ever did. I'm always going to be like that, and I don't care if that's a good thing or bad thing. That's just the fact, right? And whether it's owning a gym, whether it's competing on the floor against Amy in a wall ball workout, right, is I always want to, I think I feed off the underdog role, and I think that's where pressure that you put on yourself can actually help. Where if you are an underdog, talent-wise, anatomy, right, her being tall definitely helps that workout. We were busting on her after she was not. But hey, if you're tall in CrossFit, like you have a very hard battle. So every now and then you get a bone thrown your way, and you have to capitalize. But
did you see her today? Day after that workout,
I didn't. Yeah,
she crushed it.
Did she?
Today?
She's on fire right now. She really is. And I mean, we should probably have her on at some point, just because she has a really cool background that I think a lot of people don't know about. But so the pressure that I'll feel, or I think there's other. I even think because other females especially might feel some pressure in that workout when we do it on Tuesday, not because they're trying to beat Amy. Please don't go down that path. It's, wow, the bar has been raised. And this is why I almost would love to do a podcast on this at some point, that the fitness level of the gym, the entire gym gets elevated when someone pushes the needle. And she just pushed the needle for that workout on Tuesday.
For what a good CrossFit athlete is at our gym.
Yes, yeah. Your life matters so much. All right. So that's really I want to kind of wrap up the athlete pressure in that being competitive is not a bad thing if you're fueling it to inspire you and motivate you, right? Because we all struggle with that at certain points of the year. We're never always going to be motivated to come work out. But when you have other things to kind of compare yourself to and chase after or run away from, I think that pressure that you feel prior to the workout it can help you reach your ceiling. That's all. All right. The next kind of pressure I want to talk about is that the pressure that athletes feel from their coaches. And I've had a coach, so I can kind of relate. I know you've had multiple coaches, whether it's Next Level, Bison, right? We have a lot of athletes in our gym that played collegiate sports, high school sports, and the pressure to perform maybe was felt from their coaches. In some cases, they never felt pressure from the coaches. Any opening thoughts on pressure that an athlete feels from their coach to perform well in a workout?
Yeah. I never grew up doing sports.
Right.
So coaching to me is relatively new, and most of my athletic coaching experience is through CrossFit.
Right.
And a lot of my coaching has actually been through you. You've coached me for a lot, or other Bison coaches. And I've reacted two ways generally to coaching.
Right.
Either I respond very positively, it reinforces my positive self-belief, and I do better.
Right.
Or I get mad, pissed, and actively move against that coaching, spit the bit, and do worse.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I've done both.
Yep.
And
It's common.
It's really hard because working with your coach is as much psychology and compatibility of personalities in some ways.
Right.
Sometimes it doesn't matter if your personalities are different. It matters what your mindset is and what you take in of it.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's that interaction which can either be negative or positive. And I have to say, every time I think about it, it was really on me. It wasn't really the coach. It was what I was taking away from that coach.
Right.
And either I was receptive or not receptive. Because you can always take away something from a coach. Even a
agree.
really, really bad coach.
I agree.
You can still probably pull something out of it, even if it's something negative. Like, that's not really something I would want to do, but this, now I know that I like this.
Right.
But for me, never to take anything away or for it to impact my performance, it really came from me as an athlete.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say in any sport, I've seen and I've had really good coaches that they're pricks. They scare you. They're not friendly. They almost seems like they don't care about you. And I've also had really good coaches that I wish they cared more. It almost seemed like they're just trying to make me happy, right? But they weren't being realistic. So this isn't really going to be about like, all right, good coach, bad coach. Like, there are a lot of good coaches. I'll use the NFL for an example, that certain players do not respond well to. That doesn't make the coach a bad coach, right? Again, that goes so much deeper with like the mental state, psychology. But I think that the pressure a lot of times that athletes do feel from coaches, and I don't want to say all the times, I hate when making general statements, is that it's almost always athlete induced. And yes, are there moments that as a coach that I've done that I feel like I have put pressure on someone? There are. And sometimes that's planned. Like, I will give someone a certain goal for a workout, and I know that puts pressure on them. Part of it is I know what they can do. There are a lot of situations where I know an athlete can do that the athlete doesn't know they can do. Just use yesterday for an example, the snatching. Like, there are weights that people were failing that I know they physically can do. But there's certain habits that kept on creeping up the second it got heavy. And I know for a fact, just strength-wise, they can lift. They just have to prove to themselves and go under the bar with confidence, right? So, yes, I can tell someone that failed a 115 yesterday that they could do 125. Yes, you could do 115, and you could do 120, and you could do 125 if you trust yourself on it. Does that put pressure on the athlete? Maybe, but I think you can make the argument that it could actually make the athlete shut off those negative voices in their head. So the pressure from the athlete perspective, from the coach, is not always a bad thing. I think, again, we have to get away from the stigma of pressure is bad. It is not bad. And if you run away from pressure, it's the same thing as you running away from discomfort, which is the same thing as you running away from ever getting better at anything in your life, if you're just constantly running away from it. So I think you take that pressure in, you say, all right, how can I filter this? Now, this is where the coach needs to step up a little bit, is if you are putting pressure on them, whether you realize it or not, this is the art of coaching, is you have to try to find different ways to just like inject little glimpses of positivity and hope and inspiration, rather than just like, nope, you can do it. You can get this row burpee workout sub 7, sub 8. I know you can. You just got to go do it. You got to try. You got to suck it up, right? Like, I drew out a pace for Liz the other day on that workout. It was literally what your cal per hour pace should be on every single row and how long that will take, how long the burpees will take you if you maintain a 3.5 second pace, if you step over, blah, blah, blah. And then so I wrote down 27, 27, 21, 21, 15, 15, 9, 9. All right, I did that for a few people. And then when I got to the 9s, I didn't write any pace. I just said, suck it up. You know, and like, that's what that workout is, right? Like those last 9 cals and 9 burpees, you're not pacing that. You're just going to give everything you have. That's a Hinshaw thing, right? When there's under 40 seconds left in your workout, there's no more pacing. You go black, right? And that's where that kind of pressure, you need to know when and when not to do that from the coaching perspective. The athlete, hey, I feel pressure from this coach all the time. You got to ask yourself, why do you feel that way? Is it really that it's the pressure that you're putting on yourself and you want to blame it on someone else? Because I think a lot of people don't take responsibility for that. It's easy to blame someone else. Like, I'm overweight because, you know, my spouse eats dirty, right? I have a drinking problem because my friends like to drink on the weekends, right? I have a sleeping problem because, you know, my kids don't sleep at night, or my wife wants to watch Netflix, right? How often do you hear someone say, you know what, this is on me? Like what you just did. You know, it's rare. It's a rare trait that someone actually does that. Thoughts?
I was thinking about all the times you've been coaching me, and it's funny, in Godfather, they say that there's a wartime consigliere who's sort of the person who helps you. And I would say for any specific workout performance or in a workout, I have never seen anyone better than you in terms of coaching that person.
Right.
Putting that confidence in their head, whether it's in the middle of a comp workout, open workout, drawing up a pacing plan, like focus on that. That is a talent that is really hard to develop. I have not accomplished half of what I did in the middle of a workout had you not been there saying something. Even yesterday on the snatch workout, just like, you know, lean back, look up, help me get to where I was going. The other part, and that's the acute, like right there part of coaching, building that confidence, getting someone from 115 to 125 or 135 on their snatch.
Intro workout.
Which I have seen you do. I saw you do it yesterday for others. The other part, which is what Hinshaw had talked about building confidence for their athletes, like Khalipa, the long-term training, building confidence. That is a skill that takes a really long time because, like you said, you have to build in little things in order to push and put pressure on your athlete.
It's like a brick house. Like it's just like there's so many bricks involved.
Right.
You know?
And that is really tough because the coach has to know the athlete really well.
And they have to be on the same page for a long time.
That's the other thing. The athlete has to buy in.
Yes.
And he talks about buy-in. And if you have problems with the pressure from your coach, maybe it's because you haven't bought in on that. And I would say that that's probably always been the issue on my part is if I hadn't really mentally bought in on it, then that pressure wasn't received very well from me. So I would feel like when I need that coaching, I would have to tell myself, get rid of the inner voice saying, he doesn't know what he's talking about. This is going to hurt me.
He doesn't get it.
He doesn't understand.
Yeah. He's not listening to me, blah, 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 blah.
And say, listen, let me fully buy in for X period of time and do that.
Yeah.
And use that pressure in a positive way
Yes.
and see what happens.
Absolutely.
And try that because that in my experience has been what the problem is.
Yeah, those are great words right there. And I just think to wrap this part of it up is the athlete needs to fully trust the coach. And if you don't, like more power to you, like, don't use the coach. Right? Like at a gym like this, you don't always get to decide. I know some people do. Like they'll go to a class with a certain coach, right? You know, but generally, if you're especially going to hire like a one-on-one coach, don't work with that coach. And again, that doesn't mean you're bad. Doesn't mean they're bad. You're just not a fit for each other. I had a coach for a couple of years from Crafted Coaching.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that experience. So and buying in and the pressure on that.
It's funny how when I first hired him, and like he's a pretty well-known coach from a pretty well-known organization, and he at that time was the head coach of that organization. And he's coached games athletes multiple times, right? And I can remember my first like 4 to 5 months. It was not a short time. Every time I sent him my workout result, I was like, oh my God, like, what's he going to think? What's he going to think? And he would never really tell me other than like, good job. And I'm like, at some point I was like, yo, am I doing good or not? Like I really want to know whether it's, you go compare me to some of the other scores you have. And he goes like, if I compare you to the top guy in our organization, he's going to beat you in every single workout no matter what. His name was Nick Block. He was a games athlete, master games athlete. Ended up failing a drug test, but
how did you feel about that then?
Well, at that point, in relation to this topic,
pressure, did you feel justified that
I couldn't beat him anything?
Right.
I mean, he was literally squatting 100 more pounds than me on sets of 5, right? Like it wasn't even in the same tier, but I mean, even to this day, it's invalidated him in my head. You know, I don't know if I follow him on Instagram anymore. I might have unfollowed him, but
did it make you feel better?
Oh yeah, absolutely it did. But I remember always feeling like that I actually listened to him on a podcast with another Crafted coach, and they said that athletes need to know, but coaches also have to train themselves on this, that their self-worth as a coach has nothing to do with the athlete's result. So if the athlete wins, the coach is not going to walk around with a puffed out chest saying, I got them there. You'll be proud of them, happy to be a part of it, obviously, right? But at the same time, if the athlete fails, does not perform well at the competition, gets hurt, right? That coach is not going to hang their head and said, like, I screwed up. You know, it's kind of like the thought of like win as a team, lose a team. Like that's where I feel like if an athlete from here achieves something, qualifies for something, wins something, I can relate to that in that I will never take any credit for it. If they want to dish out credit for it, but I'm not going to like, oh, wow, you're a good person. You said thank you to your coach. That's not like you have to let the athlete kind of take care of that because it's what they believe. It's what they think. But at the same time, if the athlete does not do well to competition, I will not say, you know what, that was my fault. But I'll probably go to them and say like, hey, we both need to step up the game here. We need to figure out a different route to take. Dave Book, for an example, right? We have changed up our approach for his training since this past Open. You know, we did not reach our goal for this past Open. It was not a huge deal. But again, when I have an athlete that has a goal, like I'm going to try to help them get to that goal. When we don't get to that goal, I don't view either one of us as a failure. But I said, like, all right, we might need to change up the approach a little bit. And we have. And he's doing really well right now.
He is.
And again, but that's on him. He's the one that bought in. And I will say the last thing where I felt pressure from a coach in a positive way, my coach showed up to Legends. And that meant a lot to me that he showed up there. He flew from Puerto Rico to San Diego. Left his kid. He was with his wife, you know. And it's a long time watching competitions. No offense to anyone, it is not fun. 3 days in a row, definitely not fun. Mm-hmm. But you're there for a purpose. So you're not really you're there for work, right? And I remember that the hardest workout that I did, the moment of the weekend where I was like, you know what, I actually have a good shot at this thing, was the workout that started off with 50 dumbbell squats, then the dumbbell step overs, the overhead squat snatch with the dumbbell. It was so much, and then sandbag cleans at the end. It was the darkest I went all weekend. And he said to me moments before the workout, he goes, you got to go unbroken. And like that was pressure. I had zero desire or thought to go unbroken in that workout. That's not a workout I usually can go unbroken in. And that pressure I felt, I filtered it to, you know what, he believes in me and I don't want to disappoint him was part of the thought process. It had more about the pressure I put on myself, which is what we'll talk about next. But that pressure, that's just that one little line, probably about 60 seconds before the workout started, you got to go unbroken, was, you know, so much pressure from that moment came on into my head before the workout, but it helped me and it channeled confidence. So I think that the pressure that a coach does put on you, if you are an athlete and you ever feel pressure from a coach, I think two things. You should be thankful that you feel that way because that means the coach is really, you know, trying to help you out, right? They're going out of the way. But B, you have to trust the coach. You can't put your negative spin on it. And if that is you, if you do feel that negative spin, the second the coach says, hey, I think you can do this, I know you can do this, you got to buy into that. So the next pressure, there's two more that we feel, okay, is that the pressure we put on ourselves. And I think this is probably the most prevalent.
I was about to say it's the biggest one that I see all the time.
Yeah. And I do think as we mature and most of the people that we work with, like it is, I think this is probably 75% of the pressure we feel. Is I come in with this expectation of myself. Whether it's realistic or not is a different story, but reflect on some of the pressure that you put on yourself, whether it's performance-based, lifestyle-based, whatever.
This is the one I hear from everybody, especially, like, for example, my spouse. She'll look at the workout and be like, oh, my God, that's 50 wall balls. How am I going to and I hear that from athletes every day coming in.
We're going to hear that a lot on Tuesday.
Oh my God, how can I do this? And that pressure that they put on themselves is one, it's good in the sense that they care.
Yes.
So it shows they're caring.
Yep.
But two, most of the time when I hear it, I like hearing it for about 15 seconds. Mm-hmm. And then I would really like it when I hear that for people to translate that into something positive as opposed to just a bitch fest about how crappy that workout's going to feel.
Yeah.
So I don't mind hearing it first, but don't complain for more than 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Turn it into something like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to, and then break it up into tens.
And you know what you are?
Whatever it is.
You're a problem solver, right? Like that's what you do. Like I've, you know, my wife and I have had little like arguments here and there about this kind of stuff where like sometimes, and using your spouse as an example, right? Sometimes they just want to vent, you know, like about the frustration of like, wow, this is going to be really hard.
I understand.
So, and when I hear that, like Ashley did that front squat toes bar workout the other day, and like, you know, she's like, I can't do this. This is too hard to be by myself. I'm going to be so sore. And like, I almost skip over the empathy stage. I'm like, all right, so let's do this. You got a minute 30 to do your squats. You got a minute to do your toes to bar. That means you could break 4 times. You could break 3 times, rest. And she's like, why can't you just let me be upset?
That's exactly what Susan would say. She's like, you skipped the empathy stage.
So, I mean, the spouse and family, I know we have a lot of coaches that, their spouse either does CrossFit or has been involved or they tried to coach them. Ramsey and I joke about this all the time. Like, there's certain things you're just not going to take in from your spouse, and that's fine. But let's remove that, right? I'm going to hear a lot of this on Tuesday, that this workout's going to be a little too hard. And honestly, I think it's going to be hard. I know it's going to be a pain cave workout. I've watched some really good athletes do this workout and watched really good athletes get beat up by it. And, going into that, sometimes if your mindset is under that negative state, I'm telling you this right now, I promise your workout will be worse. And I think some people will rationalize their reaction to a workout like that, what we're talking about. Oh, well, if I set my expectations really low, I won't be disappointed if I do poorly, but maybe I'll do really well and I'll exceed those expectations. It's a losing mindset. That if you don't really aim high and try to take the positivity and say like, hey, this is going to be a really good fitness test. This is going to really open your eyes. I'm telling you this right now, you are going to be surprised by the scores on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I promise. It's not going to be your traditional, like, all right, you're normally top scores of this. There's a lot to this workout. And I know this because I've talked to people from around the country that have done this. And the ones that are doing well are not the ones that I thought would do well. They're not the ones that are doing well in other workouts. And it's going to be really interesting. So I think that you might not know that this is a good workout for you, right? You might only be looking at the wall balls and being like, man, this is going to be tough. You know what I'm looking at that I'm scared of? The double. Right. I'm not even thinking about the wall balls. I don't care about them, right? But the double unders, and you've seen this in action before, like when I really get to like that state, like I can't string 10 together, and then my head, my mental state goes south so fast. And like that's like my biggest challenge. But you know what? If I have a good double under day, if Susan has a good wall ball day, you might actually exceed your expectation on that workout. So I think that coming into a workout like this, or any workout where there's something that means there's meaning behind it, right? I hear the butterfly in my stomach line during the open 8 times a week from people that don't compete at all. They're just like, why am I so nervous? And I say, it's what you said in your opening statement about this. It means you care. And I think it's a good thing. If you ever come to a workout and you never feel pressure from yourself ever, I think that's a bad sign.
People deal with that inner voice a lot of different ways. And I will reference 2 CrossFit articles, and I'll just put, I won't talk about them too much. I'll just put them on the website. One of them is a CrossFit Journal article, Performance Psychology, Taming Your Inner Voice by Wendy Swift, which was, I read it. I thought that was great. And then The Mind Game by Stephen Shrago. And they're both CrossFit articles about performance psychology, about how to approach some of this inner voice stuff. Mm-hmm. Personally, I've gotten to the point where I will look at a workout. I will say, like, we all focus on what we have issues, right?
Right.
So it will be the wall balls for me, or I'm short, so maybe it'll be the dumbbell step-ups. And I'm like, oof, that's going to be a grind.
Yep.
And then I will try to clear my head. So before a workout, I find personally letting go of all of it and trying to keep the most open mind, and then just focusing on my technique. Like, okay, step up. Don't take that step back after you come down on the box jumps. Make sure I am trying to catch, like, points of performance, catch that wall ball and come up really smoothly.
Yep.
Like all of the things that I can focus on about the workout. I don't necessarily focus on the time or you know, how much pain I'm going to feel, because I know I'll get there anyway.
Yes.
And I just try to focus on the little things, which is one of the techniques they talk about.
Right.
I think a lot of people will focus on a lot of different things, but the key is really, this happens in life a lot.
Right.
I mean, how many things do we have in life where, like, man, I got to do this, or I look at this and I don't want to do this.
Yep.
And a lot of times we can translate how we deal with a particular workout into whatever crappy thing we're supposed to do today.
Yeah.
And if you continually work on controlling that inner voice and the complaint fest that most of us keep breaking out into, or perseverating over a certain thing, and almost, like you said, putting us into a spiral of negative performance.
Yeah, it actually makes things worse.
Right.
Right.
I hate it when, it happens though, and I hate it when I know I was the one who defeated myself in a workout.
Yep.
it was because of what I was thinking going into it that made me do worse.
Yep.
I hate that feeling.
Yep.
And if you hate that feeling, then you're going to find ways not to do that anymore.
Right. Yeah. And I remember I was golfing with a buddy named Andrew. I think this was even a year and a half, 2 years ago. And he told me, he's like, one thing that CrossFit taught me, and he's not like a fire breather at all. He's like, just here for the workout. And he said that one thing CrossFit taught me was like when I do have to do things at home, like projects, right? He described a project where he had a huge pile of mulch dumped in his backyard, and he had one little wheelbarrow, and he had to like wheel it all the way to the backyard. And he's like, I honestly, it was like a CrossFit workout to me. I just said, all right, it's 100 rounds of fill the wheelbarrow, go back there. And he goes like, and I never stopped. And he goes like, that's the kind of stuff that used to be like, I would stop 2 hours in, go eat lunch, watch TV. Oh, I still have to do more, go back out, negative mindset. And he goes like, I was done quicker. I felt like I got a good workout. And he never went into a negative state. He just got the job done. And I think that's kind of what these workouts can really teach you about like your life, but also if you want to stick it to the workout itself, right? If you do focus on something small, micro level, like I'm going to try to do, perfect form on my step up. I'm going to try to push off my bottom leg every time. I'm going to try to relax my shoulders. You eventually get to this task of you either got your 3 rounds done or you got a 20-minute cap. So, all right, so no one's going to work out more than 20 minutes. And again, you eventually get there, and actually it improves your level of fitness. This is where I think there are forms of fitness that you're being tested, right? We have this workout Tuesday that for some it is a test. We have the benchmark workout the next Tuesday, which is going to be a retest, right? But you can also view them as just simple training sessions. And instead of me trying to get my best time on Tuesday's workout, I'm going to try to get perfect wall balls every single time.
That's a great thought.
A training session rather than a test session. And honestly, most of you guys that listen to this, you're never going to have to test yourself anything across it. You're here for fitness. You're here for health. You're here for happiness. Like, I think the more you remove yourself, and I think one of the things that my coach did for me that helped me filter some of the internal pressure, because like the most pressure I do feel personally when I perform is from myself. I really honestly do not feel pressure from anyone else anymore. And that's, it's been that way for a couple of years now, and I'm happier that way. But one thing that my coach really started to teach me, and this is what I'm trying to put on other people as well, is he would send me like 70% effort, 80% effort, 85% effort workout sessions. And at the end of the workout, like I was spent on these 80% days, like smoked. But in the middle of the workout, rounds one, say it was a 5-round workout, rounds 1, 2, 3, that 80% mindset, it took all pressure away from me because I wasn't shooting at, he didn't say, all right, do this workout in 12 minutes. Beat this time of 10:34. And I think that's why he never shared other results with me, because he knew, like we talked a lot, my coach and I, he's like, you are different in that you always want to put something on paper to go chase. And he goes like, it's not the way to do it. And so Tuesday's workout, everyone that's listening to this, right? Don't only put a certain time on it unless you know that you have adopted this competitive mindset. If you're here for the workout, and it's not going to make a world of difference for you if you're 16 or 17 minutes, if you're 18 minutes or you don't finish, right? Pick something in the workout that you're trying to pursue. It could be, sets of 5 on my wall ball. All right, that sounds silly, but it's not. I guarantee people could do really well in the workout if they did 5 wall balls at a time. Because again, it's not about your rep scheme. It's about your quality of movement and how long you rest in between the rest and sets.
The one thing I was thinking about with this workout is watching these people is, it's 3 rounds. And the hardest is like halfway into the second round.
Yes.
Because you're thinking, I got to finish this second round. And now I have a whole third round to go.
Yep.
And I've felt that way in a lot of workouts where you get to that hard point. And that's what I mean when I say I get mad at myself. If I didn't get tough during that part of it. I don't really care about my performance.
Right.
As long as I felt like I was mentally tough during that hard part.
Yes.
And I feel like that's one of the biggest training points about CrossFit is you get to that point and you're like, do you get tough and grind it out?
Or do you go backwards?
Or do you just fall apart and be like, I'm going to take extra 10 seconds here, 20 seconds. And I've done it both ways.
Yeah.
A lot of everyday classes, I'll sit there and be like, okay, this is the time where it's the gut check.
Yep.
And I'm not feeling it today, so I'm going to take that extra rest.
Nothing wrong with
but
that.
This one, like, there's a little bit more to it.
Yep.
So I'm going to see where I am with it mentally and say, okay, can I really feel like I'm giving it my effort and making it a real gut check?
Yep.
And it sounds stupid because like I'm a CrossFit Kool-Aid drinker, but I do that in life a lot too.
Yeah.
Like I'll do a really long case and I'll be like, okay, this is the third of the fourth or fifth round that I got to do.
Yeah.
I got to gut it just like, and it'll be downhill after this. So let me don't lose focus.
Yeah.
Really get it done.
Yeah.
And then I can
And
keep
you're always glad you did it that way.
always.
Like every time, like I think that if you can just suck it up, I hate always saying it gets overused. I know I overuse it, right? But if you do that a few times, you start to be like, wow, I feel so much better about myself. All right, take the score out of it, right? I feel better about myself. And that's part of a lot of what we do here. We want people to increase their confidence and take lessons that they learn from working out and put it to their real life. And I don't think I've ever had a situation. I've gone both ways too. I've shorted the effort, let other things take over, got lazy, right? And lack of discipline. And those are the times I'm always like, oh, I did it again.
Yes.
I screwed up. But the times where I didn't, I pushed through, I achieved something. You look back on it, like that's a feeling of pride that you'll never experience unless you do push forward. But it actually, in my opinion, it becomes easier. Like once you start seeing those results a few times, you're like, I like this feeling. I hate the other feeling, and you're never going to be perfect. That's not what this is about. But that pressure actually gets filtered into a positive. I feel pressure to go this way, not backwards.
That's the part that I like teaching my kids about.
Yeah, absolutely. So the last one, this is going to be an interesting one. I think some of you guys are not going to relate to this because you're not a coach, but the pressure that coaches feel from athletes. And I am actually talking about performance. I don't want to get too much into the pressure a coach feels to coach. Because this workout is about performance pressure, all right? Or pressure to perform. I take it from me, if you're not a coach and you never talked to another coach about this, your coaches have either felt or continue to feel or will feel pressure to perform to a certain level in workouts because of the athletes. And one of the worst lines that I think anyone can use when talking to a coach, if an athlete talks to a coach, is, well, if you can't do it, why should I? Like, well, I'll practice what you preach. Like you shouldn't be teaching a muscle up. You can't even do a muscle up. Like that's probably one of the most offensive things someone could say to a coach.
Yeah.
And it is something that if I ever heard someone say that to a coach here, there would be zero hesitation in going to that athlete and getting in their face and giving them the truth. And that's one thing that we have our coaches' backs on. Like if I ever heard anyone say something like that. Now, there are voices in people's heads. Like, we don't always say what we feel.
People might be thinking it.
Yes. And in my opinion, there is some validity and credibility behind the quality of the movement, technique. We don't move perfectly. That's not what we're talking about. But if you're the person that's always doing things incorrectly and you've been doing it for 6 years, maybe there are some things that we should talk about, right? Or that can be responsibly discussed. But talk about any pressure that you have felt as a coach you can make it either movement-based, like a movement that you struggle with. There aren't a lot of things that you really struggle with, but you have things that you're better at than others. Same thing with here. I've always been insecure coaching pistols because there's certain days like I can't do one. I would say more often than not, when I coach pistols, I need to warm up for pistols for like 20 minutes. And that's a feeling of pressure that do I lack credibility as a coach if I can't do a certain movement? Thoughts?
No, I've never felt that pressure and sense that if I can't do something, I have difficulty coaching it.
Yep.
That came up in the L2, that course I took, and they said you have to be able to demonstrate movements
right
with the form that you want your athletes to do. But, if it's a barbell, you're using a PVC pipe.
Right.
You're not using a 135-pound barbell to demo these movements.
Right.
The gymnastics stuff, you can use someone else as a demo if you want to, or you can talk your way through it.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just because I'm not never been the best athlete in the gym that I never ever felt that kind of pressure. I think if you were a really good CrossFit athlete and you are coaching, you might feel some obligation to demo all of the movements the way you want to.
Yep.
The pressure I do feel, though, is that when I do work out, more and more now, it used to be less, but now I feel it more, is when I work out in a class, am I moving well?
Right.
Before, I really cared about maybe my time.
Right.
And now, especially that I videoed myself, I start to look and say, that looks a little sloppy.
Yep.
Or it looked okay at the beginning of the workout, but it really looked like crap at the end of the workout.
Yep.
And now I know, I really believe athletes have looked at me and said, wow, this coach doesn't move that great. And I feel pressure, but it's a good pressure.
It's a good pressure, yeah.
That I need to make sure that whatever it is that I do, I keep to standard.
Yeah.
You know,
Especially with technique and form.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think I feel it a lot on wall balls because I never can tell how deep I'm squatting on wall balls.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why I feel like I might be doing better on wall balls is because I feel like people are looking at me to be a decent wall ball standard holder.
Yeah. And we've talked about this with our coaches in our meetings before that, you know, I have zero expectation of how many times they work out per week, what classes they come to. Like that's more of like an individual case, individual situation, right? I do think they should do CrossFit, but the in terms of how well they do in a workout and what does well mean, like their score, I have zero expectation. I don't care if it's RX, if it's scaled, if it's mixed, if it goes back and forth. I do care that the coach is setting the example for in multiple ways, right? How they act in a class, being respectful to the coach. Don't be the person that needs this, you know, this zone with this bar, with this, you know, this box, that wall ball, right? And because I think that filters down, and also with how intentional they are with quality movement, right? It would be foolish of me, in my opinion, to say, nope, your form has to be perfect on every single movement. You can't go clean another 15 pounds until you perfect that 5 pounds. I will treat them like an athlete and say like, hey, you got to get better at 80 to 90% before you go for that 1 rep max again. But it would be foolish to say you have to move perfect because that's too subjective of a line. And there is, in my opinion, there is no perfect movement. I remember learning that at my L2. If you can't pick something apart from someone's movement, then you probably need to coach harder, right? Like we could all get better. So I try to stray away from like that subjective style and say, but you can tell if an athlete is intentional about moving well. You know, I think it does take some experience as a coach. You know, like sometimes someone is trying to move well, they're not. But if you don't know the person, their situation, their history, it's hard to, or you don't have a lot of coaching experience yourself, you might not be able to really say, no, they're not actually trying to move well, they're just trying to get the score. That's one thing I try to really inflict on coaches, but knowing at some point you are going to break down. Like you're going to have that chicken wing muscle. You know, your wall ball depth might not be there. I never have thought that your intent was, fuck it, I'm just going to try to go for the number.
No, true.
Yeah.
I just didn't know.
Yeah.
You probably feel some different pressures because you are the owner. You have been a very high-level CrossFitter at the gym, and you coach a lot of people. Pressures as a coach, different. That's different than maybe some of the other coaches.
Maybe. I mean, again, performance, no. Like I really don't feel like I need to perform to a certain level in the gym on a score. But I do feel pressure that everything that revolves around CrossFit needs to be right. Like there are times I get disappointed in myself that like, especially this summer, right? Like Ash and I, we have fun, drink a little extra, don't really diet that much, right? We don't go crazy, but you know, at some point you say, like, all right, we got to turn it up. Like we actually had the discussion yesterday. You know, she's like, can we go pick up Rocky and go get ice cream? And I'm like, I told her, I was like, I think I'm done with that for the fall. Like I think you got to get. I know she was not. That's exactly what I heard. But I do feel pressure that like I really want to amp up my training. Right, my knee's starting to feel better. I'm starting to feel pretty good. But I know that we've talked about this last week. The lifestyle needs to get back there first before I pick up my volume. Right. I should not pick up my volume if I don't clean the other things up. That's the pressure I feel. And again, it's a good thing. It's accountability, right? That's what it is. But I also pay attention to like how well I'm moving. There's certain days where I'm watching a video of my workout. I'm like, oh, like my movement was bad, especially like on a heavy clean where I kind of like starfish the feet a little bit, right? Like I tried to get other people to not do that. And I do, especially if I'm in a class, right? Or if I post something on Instagram, I'm like, man, I really hope this movement's clean. And I will. That's where I maybe a little bit of a weakness where I don't want to go down the path of what does that person think? What does that person think? But when it's always from the angle of I'm a coach, I'm a leader of one of the leaders of the gym, I don't ever want to give off this perception where what we practice and what we teach you in classes and on this podcast, we're not doing ourselves. And I think it has a filter down effect. Yeah. So that's a lot of the pressure that I feel. Are there any closing thoughts that you have on this just overall big picture feeling of pressure to perform from any of these angles?
No, I feel like everyone has their own stories about where they feel pressure. I think we should welcome people sharing those stories. Maybe we can cover them if you have something that you want to say or a specific instance or a question about how do I deal with this kind of pressure. I think that would be really interesting to sort of go down.
Awesome. Yeah. A lot of different backgrounds here, a lot of different stories. And I do feel the more I listen to people here, the more I learn about, you know what? Never thought about it from that angle. And it actually, if you're feeling a certain way, I guarantee there's other people feeling the same way. And it might actually help them for you to kind of voice that reasoning behind it. All right, so thank you guys. Hopefully you got something out of that, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your day to listen to the Herd Fit podcast. Be on the lookout for next week's episode.